of what this all looks like on Streamlabs. Right, there we go. I can see it now. I don't know what it is, but me and Joz, at the exact same time, our PCs have started to act up. Is there a Windows update? Probably. So that's going to be fun to do after this. But anyway, it looks good. It looks great. We've got people in the viewers. We're all good. Welcome then to episode 44 of TOSH Talks, a video series, obviously, where we talk about a subject that is chosen by the community. And today, I didn't vote for this anyway. I didn't really want to talk about it over the weekend, but then it got to Monday, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like reading a lot, because if there's one thing I can do very well, and I'm no burns, it's very long.
Right.
So, yes, as you can hear, we have Joz back, because he is our resident Cummings man. You heard.
Yeah, well, I don't have a PowerPoint this time again, but this time we're actually doing a topic that I'm interested in.
Yes, quite. And you also demanded that it's only me, you, and Tharium, because you do not like being interrupted.
Well, I also don't like feeling like I have to interrupt other people, and I think three is the optimum number.
Yes, we've got Tharium, who suggested this topic as well.
Mhm.
So,
And Dominic Cummings vindicates everything I say.
well, we'll see about that. Goodness me, stream. Would you? I don't know why my Streamlabs is being so slow, but anyway, I'm assuming that the stream can see it now. Well, they definitely can now. So we are going through his latest blog, which he wrote it and published it about a week and a half ago now, 28th, close to 2 weeks ago now. Which he called People, Ideas, Machines 12 Theories of Regime Change and Civil War. Preference.
Yeah, so I just want to add that this Theory, Ideas, Machines is a sort of ongoing series that he does. It's not like some of them that we went through a while ago now were like the startup party ideas that he wrote about. Those were like a kind of one-off thing. But this, obviously, it's number 12. It's a sort of regular segment that I guess that he does on his blog, and the People, Ideas, Machines are. Oh, I think it's some quote by somebody on like best ways to like things that you need to manage effectively. I can't remember exactly who it is.
Yeah. Well, I did know it was a series, but I mean, I'm not sure what we're going to get into here. I basically wouldn't be shocked if this is a warning of there's not much chance left before things get a bit violent. Not that I think anyone's going to be advocating for it. At least that's what I'm assuming it's going to be. But
yeah, I've seen a few people sort of making noise about this particular post, which is why I was curious because, as I say, it's an on-running series and nobody's made any noise about the previous 11 episodes.
Yeah, this is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
you've read it? Have you read it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, apparently Tharium's vindicated.
That's why I recommended it.
Yeah,
because it is.
Yeah, I purposely haven't read it because I wanted to have somebody read it to me instead.
Yes, good.
Well, let's get to it then, because it is. I mean, it's a monster. Yeah.
It's actually not. It's not too bad to get through. Actually,
there's quite a few pictures. Though.
It looks worse than it is.
That's what they say about me.
Because there's comments, I think it scrolls further than the actual document.
Yeah, possibly. Well, he has a few choice quotes at the top. I would rather discover one cause than be king of Persia, Democritus, however you say that. At such time, the life of the city was all in order, and human nature, which is always ready to transgress the laws, having now trampled them underfoot, delighted to show that her passions were ungovernable, that she was stronger than justice and the enemy of everything above her. If malignity had not exercised a fatal power, how could anyone have preferred revenge to piety and gain to innocence? But when men are retaliating upon others, they are reckless of the future and do not hesitate to annul those common laws with deliverance should he ever be overtaken by calamity. They forget that in their own hour of need, they will look for them in vain. Thucydides, Book 3.
Yeah, Thucydides is an ancient Greek historian, am I right?
He wrote about the Persian. He wrote about the. We did a whole series on it on Mondays.
Of course,
the Peloponnesians. Yeah,
so
I actually know.
Mad that, like, what, 2,500 years ago?
No, that's Herodotus. I think you're thinking of.
Am I thinking of Herodotus?
Thucydides was, I think, an Athenian diplomat.
I thought Thucydides wrote up. Maybe he's not a historian, but he
I
definitely
mean, he
wrote
probably
about the
wrote
Persian
as
Wars.
well, but
He
I
wrote
think
about the Persian Wars for sure. But Herodotus is a historian. You're right. Mad that he was saying, 3,500 years ago that people are keen to get rid of laws and things if they stand to gain or if they get caught up in revenge.
Great crises constitute the weather that favours Prussia's growth, provided that it's fearlessly, perhaps even ruthlessly, exploited by us. There is no exact science of politics, just as there is none for political economy. Only professors are able to package the sum of changing needs of cultural man into scientific laws. Politics is neither arithmetic nor mathematics. To be sure, one has to reckon with given and unknown factors, but there are no rules and formulas with which to sum up the results in advance. Bismarck, what a guy. So the democratization of Europe is at the same time an involuntary arrangement for the breeding of tyrants. Nietzsche.
Thank you, Nietzsche. Very cool.
I mean, Nietzsche was spot on about a lot of things, but he was wrong about God dying. I think we're reviving him.
No, well, I mean, he was right. Though.
Well,
God,
okay,
we
yeah,
did
he was
kill
right.
God.
He was right at the time.
I mean,
yeah.
although we are dealing with a religion that is all about coming back to life.
Well, I was gonna say, I've said we're reviving it, implying it was dead. So fair enough. A single spark can start a prairie fire. Yep, Mao, paraphrasing an ancient text. Oh goodness me, and not even finally. This is a big one. Joz, you take over.
Fine. It is not always when things are going from bad to worse that revolutions break out. On the contrary, it often happens that when a people which has put up with an oppressive rule over a long period without protests suddenly find the government relaxing its pressure, it takes up arms against it. Thus, the social order overthrown by a revolution is almost always better than the one immediately preceding it. Lol. And experience teaches us that, generally speaking, the most perilous moment for a bad government is one when it seeks to mend its ways. Only consummate statecraft can enable a king to save his throne when, after a long spell of oppressive rule, he sets to improve the lot of his subjects. Patiently enduring as it seemed above. Let me start that again. Patiently enduring so long as it seemed beyond redress, a grievance comes to appear intolerable once the possibility of removing it crosses men's minds. For the mere fact that certain abuses have been remedied draws attention to the others, and they now appear more galling. People may suffer less, but their sensibility is exacerbated. In all periods, even in the Middle Ages, there have been leaders of revolt who, with a view to effecting certain changes in the established order, appeal to the universal laws governing all communities and champion the natural rights of man against the state. But none of these ventures were successful. The firebrand which set all Europe ablaze in the 18th century had been easily extinguished in the 15th. For doctrines of this kind to lead to revolutions, certain changes must already have taken place in the living conditions, customs, and mores of a nation, and prepared men's mind for the reception of new ideas. Though it took the world by surprise, I'm assuming the French Revolution, was the inevitable outcome of a long period of gestation, the abrupt and violent conclusion of a process in which 6 generations played an intermittent part. That's Tocqueville.
Yeah,
not that familiar with.
He sounds French,
he does sound French.
So I'm assuming it's French Revolution, as you said before. Let me just. So Alexis de Tocqueville. Is it Tocqueville or Tankerville?
Tocqueville.
It is Tocqueville. French aristocrat, diplomat, political philosopher, and historian, born 1805 to 1859. So it sounds a bit like a. Well, that was obviously way after the French Revolution.
He's like he's the sort of the generation after.
Yeah.
I guess it's his grandparents that were involved.
Yeah. I mean, we may as well read the rest of them, actually. All stable processes where we shall predict, all unstable processes we shall control. Von Neumann, comprehensively deepening reform is a complex system engineering problem. Presidency 2013. He gets quotes from everyone. Finally, want of foresight and willingness to act when action would be simple and effective, lack of clear thinking, confusion of counsel until the emergency comes, until self-preservation strikes its jarring gong. These are the features which constitute the endless repetition of history. Winston Churchill there. Yeah, I can tell where he's going with these quotes.
Yeah, I can't remember. It genuinely might have been a Finn versus History episode that I watched. I can't remember which one it was, but they were talking about the fact that throughout history, it seems that revolutions start like when a government sort of clamps down and then draws back.
Yeah.
Like it's the rapid change like that. Oh, it's annoying me. What was the episode? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It was probably the
Which is
it was probably
essentially-
the Iranian Revolution.
Yes, I think you're right. I think
Yeah.
it was the Iranian one where he sort of clamps down and then is like, "Oh crap," pulls
Yeah.
back, but it doesn't quite go hard enough in the first place.
Yeah, and so
For
ends up with
his own,
a
yeah, and he
bit
ends
of a
up with
problem
a
on his
huge
hands.
revolution where he wouldn't have had one otherwise.
Yeah, quite.
Whereas Jack would be here to point out, just do what the Romans did. They didn't have problems. They didn't hold back.
Well,
They didn't have a popular uprising, no.
They did. The Jews tried
Oh.
it.
But
And
not in,
then they-
not in, yeah.
Well. how popular was that? Anyway, yes, he certainly wasn't joking around when he was going on about regime change and civil war. This is the theme, I guess, of these quotes.
Mhm.
So inside the intelligence services, special forces themselves under attack from the Cabinet Office and NI Office.
Is that Northern Irish Office?
I
He's referring to, I think, former
soldiers,
operatives being prosecuted for their time in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, of course. As they operate as our last line of defence, bits of Whitehall and those most connected to discussions away from Westminster, there is growing though still tiny discussions of Britain slide into chaos and the potential for serious violence, including what would look like a racial ethnic mob gang violence, though the regime would obviously try to describe it differently. Oof. Part
God,
of
this is
it,
so hard to
insane.
read out because it's just 6-line sentences.
Yeah, I know. Well, I did speech and drama. Part of the reason for the incoherent forcefulness against the white rioters last year from a regime that is in deep surrender mode against pro-Holocaust marches, rape gangs, and criminals generally is a bit. I'm amazed at how he doesn't mince these words and he still has a fairly coherent talk with the Sky News reporter. You'd think they'd have a lot to say about the way he phrases all this. They probably don't read it, actually.
Of course they haven't.
Yeah. It is a mix of A, aesthetic revulsion in SW1 at the Brexit voting white north, true. B, incoherent Whitehall terror of widespread white English mobs turning political and attracting talented political entrepreneurs. They're already privately quaking about the growth of Muslim networks. The last things they want to see is emerging networks that see themselves as both political and driven to consider violence.
Yeah, I mean, he does obviously mention Northern Ireland, but the idea of paramilitary groups representing each ethnic group within the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for making this situation,
We've-
Tories.
We've already got it on the non-white side, the non-native side.
Yeah, but I guess from their point of view, if there is a white
And
one,
then once we sort of get sick of it too, that's what they're very afraid of. Yeah,
well, for them it's game over.
yeah, completely. And he'll get into this basically. Yeah.
So yeah, when they talk about, that's the reason they push the sort of far right terrorism stuff, because it genuinely is a huge threat.
Yeah, they are terrified of us.
It's funny. It's actually related to the video I did today where I went through the Prevent thing. They just don't care about the left-wing stuff, even though, arguably, Just Stop Oil, okay, they don't kill people, but they cause millions of damages.
I mean, to be fair, it's not that important compared to...
No. I get that. But I'm still always interested to point out that if Prevent is supposed to show us where their kind of the Eye of Sauron is, if you want to put it that way, it is clearly Islamist first, but then
No, it's not.
It is. No, honestly, it is, because the prescribed terror list, I went through it. It is mostly Islamist. When you go through the training, when you go through the training, it's Islamist first. It's a whole thing, and sure they have at the bottom not all Muslims. Then when you go through,
the people I've spoken to who've done the training haven't said that. They've said it's
No, yeah. It's entirely what you're confusing is the people. You're confusing. You're confusing the people on the terror watch list, who, despite Prevent's best efforts, they just keep finding more and more Muslims, but they'd love it if they were all white people.
Well, anyway, as I was going, I mean, as I was saying, I went through the training today, and I go through it in my video. The Islamist stuff comes first, then it's the far right stuff, whatever that is. And the thing they have with that is that it's an absolutely massive net that would include me, because of obviously the cultural nationalism stuff. And so, you know, and they also say, oh, what to look out for, oh, anti-establishment. And it's like, how is that just not everyone who votes for, you know, Greens or Reform? Because they're both anti-establishment.
Well, it's very funny that the government training material is like, oh, keep an eye out for anti-government people.
Yeah, exactly. So Prevent is just telling you who they see the enemy as, and when it comes to, like, you know, Antifa, it's not really that much of a problem here. Certainly not compared to certain areas in America, like Los Angeles. Hence,
I mean,
America
you can see from their point of view as well, that the Muslim, not necessarily the violent terrorism, but the sort of influence networks. I mean, Cummings has already talked about, I can't remember what department, there was some Muslim network. It's kind of like a nepotism network, I guess. Like, they get each other jobs and then they help each other with work, and
they all do this,
and like it's not obviously as and in some ways I kind of respect it, because you wouldn't want to be part of something like that. But it's not very Anglo. Like, we don't really do that. But I can see from their point of view, it's more immediately threatening to have that in their department than some random guy stabbing people in the street in Button, like Bradford or whatever.
Yeah. Sarah for £2.
I mean, all the political parties have their Muslim networks now.
Sarah for £2.
Not official.
Looks like we're probably on the list, lads. Yep. I mean, I'm fully aware that I've probably been on the list for 7 years or something.
No.
Oh, of course
not you.
I mean, not me. I don't.
Not you.
Okay. The last thing they want to see is emerging networks that see themselves. Oh, I read that. Parts of the system increasingly fear that it could spin out of control into their worst nightmare. In number 10, meetings with the Met on riots, I saw myself the weird psychological zone of how much order rests not on actual physical force, but perceptions among a few elites about such forces that can quickly change, and B, how scared the senior police are that the prospect of crucial psychological spells being broken. I take it that means, that when they go to what they call community leaders, aka imams.
Is he not also talking about Southport and stuff?
Yeah, he's talking about the police here. The police cannot contain us. Once the Saxon gets angry, the police cannot contain us. I mean, remember from the Southport stuff, some of the times they just had these tiny little 4.5-foot women. So what are you going to do in a riot line?
Yeah, but
I'm trying to think what he means.
The issue isn't beating people on the street. It's going into their home and black bagging them afterwards.
Oof.
Which is what happens. Like, they get tracked down and arrested.
I'm just
after the event.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what he means by psychological spells. I mean, because I assume that's on every community rather than just.
Yeah.
You can just do things. You can't just do things. It's a psychological spell.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
they can't.
You probably can.
Exactly. They can't control things. Well, I mean, the British Empire was the same thing entirely. Entirely, because we couldn't actually police the whole empire with our tiny little army, but we managed to convince them all for long enough that there was nothing they could do against us.
Well,
I mean, some people have written about the sort of modern UK government being essentially a continuation of the British Empire, but just in our own borders.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it. It was something like England is the last country colonized by the British Empire or something like that. But it's the same, as Tharium says, it's the same sort of.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. We can see on the streets that various forces have already realised the regime will not stop them, and what if it spreads? Whitehall's pathology has pushed it to the brink of the psychological barrier, and many of them know it. Okay.
Exactly.
Um,
This is the point. Like all the gangs and stuff who are now just operating, realizing
oh, yeah.
that the state won't stop them, and like the Muslims going, lads, can you please just leave your weapons in the mosque, and get them later. That sort of thing. Like they know the state isn't
It's
going
always
to touch them.
it's always something that I've been at pains to point out. You have community leaders that are basically imams, say for the Muslims. Everyone always seems to ask, "Oh, who's the white community leader?" And they never seem to get that it's the police. Like your elites hate you, frankly, and it's like sending out I don't know, to take a Roman perspective on this. It's like sending out a Roman diplomat to the Picts to say keep hitting the wall.
This is his point earlier that once like my side starts attracting actually competent people, like the leaders, like a Napoleon rises, then yeah, that's real trouble for them then.
Yeah, that's what he means by political entrepreneurs, and he doesn't.
No, I get that.
He means, I guess he means the kind of person that would be successful as an entrepreneur anyway, but decides to do politics because it's what's right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I've seen history, you never know like who this person could be, because they do sometimes just come out of absolutely nowhere.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I can't think of anyone who I'd.
What, Napoleon? Oh, you mean like current
today? Yeah.
Well, normally they come from a minority, a minority group.
Any particular one?
Well, like Scottish, say, or Welsh, or
right.
Northern Irish, maybe.
I don't think they're going to be king of the white people. To be honest with you, a lot of those nationalists are very lefty. Aspects of the situation are tragicomic. For example, if you talk to senior people in places like the UAE, they tell you that big shots in that region now tell each other, don't send your kids to be educated in Britain, they'll come back a radical Islamist nut job. I also did mention that in today's video. Like it's just they lost control on it probably about 5 years ago.
There was a Cunley Drugba post about us exporting roadman culture
to Kenya. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think Kenyans call them British Somalis or something like that.
God almighty.
Oh yeah, London's ruined, and it was all started by basically foreign squatters. If you follow Max Tempers,
and you've got it is amazing that you think like how radical like Saudi Arabia is with its Islam, and they consider us to be radical too. By their standards.
I think Saudi Arabia are one of the more sensible ones. Qatar's one of the bad ones. I know they have Hamas people there.
Yeah, like all of that, like they sponsor terrorism. Women. What's that? They're not at all compatible with us.
I think you've got to like. I think we said it on the America stream. Saudi Arabia's basically got the American empire problem at the moment. I don't think it's quite how you think it is in Saudi Arabia. Iran and Iraq, yeah. Afghanistan, obviously. Saudi Arabia, though.
Pretty chill.
Yeah, Saudis aren't that bad. Dubai as well. There's a reason a lot of British people go over there to teach English, and they come back, and it's like.
I mean, okay, there is a difference between the elites and then the general people.
Yeah,
I imagine the general populace are pretty extreme, but the elites seem quite chill.
Yeah. Whereas in Afghanistan, a bit different.
Well, Iran seems to be the opposite.
Yeah, Iran's completely the opposite. It's kind of nuts how like normal Iran was before the Islamic Revolution, and then they've just been terrible since. Yeah,
Iran before the revolution.
Our regime has spent 30 years destroying the border control and sane immigration, including the Home Office's jihad against the highest skilled, whom they truly loathe discussing and try to repel with stupid fees. B, actively prioritise. It's quite funny. I reckon Dominic Cummings is probably in favour of a HB1 type visa.
Oh yeah, he's a bit of a tech bro.
Yeah. B, actively prioritise. Yeah, but if you had HB1 and no other immigration, everyone would be fine. Or if you...
Well, I can't remember who was making the point that if you actually were looking for brain surgeons, rocket scientists, whatever, from the rest of the world, it's probably in the tens of thousands. And
yeah,
the ones that want to come to Britain like in its current state, is basically none.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
who cares?
yeah. Well, we can. It's amazing how quickly you'd be able to change that. Actively prioritising people from the most barbaric places on Earth, hence immigration from tribal areas most responsible for the grooming and rape gangs, keep rising. And C, funding the spread of those barbaric ideas and defending the organisations, spreading them with human rights laws designed to stop the return of totalitarianism in Europe.
Yeah, those human rights laws are supposed to be against, like, is it Serbia, Bosnia?
Yeah. Yeah, well, Serbia basically raped Kosovo. So
That's what I'm thinking of, Kosovo, yeah.
Yeah, hence we have Dua Lipa, and Kosovo has a load of statues of Tony Blair, and the most common name for boys is Tony Blair. I'm not even joking, by the way. That is a fact.
It's like Tony Blair or something.
Yeah, Tony Blair. Yeah, I remember my friend telling me that, who does charity work in Kosovo, and I'm just like, there's no way. Like, no way is Tony Blair popular. It's like, of course, foreigners would like him. So in parallel, they started propaganda operations with the old media to spread the meme of our real danger is the far right, code for white people. As Tory, I mean, that's pretty much true, especially with what I read today. Like, cultural nationalism. Okay, that involves maybe like the pie chart's like 95% white people, 5% non-white people. As Tories and Labour have continued their deranged trajectory, they have provoked exactly the reactions they most feared, including the spreading meme that our regime itself has become our enemy and the growing politicisation of white English nationalism. I've just had an argument on Twitter about Gemrick. Like, I can't trust Tories or Labour at all. Like, even if they're saying a lot of the right things, because effectively you're still standing by that team that put us in this existential danger. Cummings is just correct on all this, as he usually is. It's his solutions.
Well, I think this is like you laugh at the guy, but this is like I think AA's point is probably with Rupert Lowe joining Tories, because that would be a clear break from the old Tory guard.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just not going to happen. I know you're getting the odd Chris Philps saying, yeah, he'll join, but again, the party's like 70% wet, probably 80 now. I can't see it happening, even if they are existentially dead. I can't see it happening. So these deep state discussions about the growing prospect of violence, like the focus group discussions about civil war, have seeped through to few MPs or hacks, and the evolution of Cabinet Office in recent years has excluded ministers, SPADs and the PM from almost any visibility inside the National Security Secretariat of the CO. I don't know what
Cabinet Office.
Oh yeah, Cabinet Office, which has acquired power from the rest of the security and intelligence system and runs a failing empire within a failing empire. Oh God. When I said in 2020 that among the general changes to the dysfunctional number 10 Cabinet Office system, the oversight of the National Security Secretariat must change so that it became visible and legible again to the PM's office, so we could participate in debates like what are the actual priorities of the intelligence service via Putin and Z. Some senior officials tried to pretend that zero political scrutiny of NSS was somehow a constitutional principle, and after I left, this system became even more closed and dysfunctional, hence the total lack of true strategic thinking connecting ends, ways, means over Ukraine, and all things defence procurement becoming more and more Kafkaesque as the MOD shipped off stuff to Ukraine. I repeat, the lack of legibility of the NSS is without historical precedent in the UK for centuries and is related to broader issues of Whitehall dysfunction and the disgraceful shambles of the MOD. Because his whole point on the MOD is that they just keep wasting money and they keep trying to hide it. That's his whole.
Sorry, what's he saying here? He's saying that the NSS, which is part of the Cabinet Office, basically it doesn't give any information to the Prime Minister
or the Cabinet Office. Yeah, they don't
give any information to ministers or the Prime Minister.
It's like there's a whole fog of war from the Prime Minister and his cabinet to the NSS. So
or that they collect
and the
national security intelligence about the world.
Yeah, they're effectively, what I'm guessing is kind of head of MI6 and MI5, and it's the intelligence.
So they just don't talk to the government.
Yeah. So literal state secrets are being kept from the Prime Minister is effectively what's being said here.
Because I remember having this sort of discussion with a civil servant, and they were like, I said to her, like, do you trust ministers to, like, when you're making decisions, do you consult them? And she was like, well, no, we're not really, because they're basically all idiots and you can't trust them.
And they're NPCs, yeah. It's,
and I was like, well,
Cummings keeps saying
that's also, like, that's true, but
yeah.
it kind of doesn't sit right for me from a kind of
Well,
democratic point of view. Like why are they there then? Why are we pretending that this isn't a dictatorship?
Well, I mean, I've got friends in the civil service as well, and it's not in defence, but it's I don't know where it was, but effectively their main complaint was ministers will ask us to research things, and then they'll ignore all the research and choose what they want to do in the first place anyway, and then effectively we ignore it. It's like, okay, like, what?
Yeah,
it's all like busy work, really.
Yeah, and it's people like, everybody knows that the ministers are not competent, so they don't consult them. But what that means is that they're doing all this stuff without any oversight at all.
Yeah,
but no one has any idea what's going on.
Not even the Prime Minister.
And not even the Prime Minister. You can't remove these people because the ministers don't even have the power to do that, even if they were competent enough to want to.
Yeah. So SW1's OODA loop. Don't know what that is. I know he uses his. I know he uses this thing quite a lot.
This is why I always try to avoid doing these sort of things.
Okay. I've got it. So it's a decision-making model. Observe, orient, decide, act. So it's like the way that they make decisions.
So that's operated for years as a massive denial of service attack on its own perceptions of reality, constant cycles of ephemeral emotional hysteria and narrative whiplash, while number 10 has no capability to execute priorities. Which, as he keeps saying, that's why there was nothing in Labour's manifesto about the winter fuel payments, and then they got rid of them straight away because that was a priority of Whitehall, because they don't feel like they had the money for it. I mean, once you notice that a lot of ministers are just NPCs, you can't unsee it. It's like the biggest red pill of modern British politics that I've ever taken, and I hate it.
So what does he mean by it? So it's a massive DDoS attack on its own perceptions of reality. So what they're making.
Well, he goes into an example.
Go on.
A great recent example: Professor Ansell saying that the Zelensky Oval Office interview meant that Farage's prospects had peaked. Widely boo skied approvingly. My fake black account did notice that. An emotional spasm entirely in tune with SW1's NPC network, reflecting OODA as DOS attack. In other words, how they fog of war themselves against the Cabinet Office, they fog of war themselves against normal people, and obviously they think Farage and Trump are interlinked. They think Ukraine war's really popular. And then 2 weeks later, they're up in the polls.
Yes, okay, so they don't know anything, so they're making up conspiracy theories based on the little information they have.
Yeah.
So they're basically us.
He's basically saying they've made their own echo chamber, and Blue Sky's just made it even worse. That's basically what's being said.
Mad that you could be at the head of a government and just have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, well, exactly.
They probably have less of an idea of what's going on than, like, a medieval king or...
They have less idea that what's going on than your average farmer who goes on TikTok every 20 minutes.
This is always the thing with talking about these lot, is like, are they just stupid, or are they or are they actually being really sneaky about stuff? They are just actually really stupid.
Yeah.
This system selects for a certain type of person, which is a certain flavour of stupidity.
Midwittery, I think you'd call it. So this has, as I've argued for years, made it more and more vulnerable to history's remorseless pattern. So rot, elite blindness, fast crisis, sudden collapse. Oh boy,
they've had a lot of fast crises, though.
There's just enough competence to bring it back, though. Brexit was a weird one, though. That was a slow motion crisis.
There's Brexit,
pointless.
There's various economic problems. There was COVID. Like,
I kind of hate to say it, but Tory Rebuttal was kind of right that these crises that the Tories have, they probably didn't do the worst job ever, like solving them. COVID, they were lucky because they had Dominic Cummings in there to basically tell people how they should be acting, which obviously had some influence.
Well,
I know
Dominic Cummings got that wrong, though. Yeah.
Does he ever say he got it wrong?
Probably
No.
not.
He refuses to apologise
Fair
or
enough. Fair enough.
admit any wrongdoing.
Well, anyway, we've got a lot to get through, so I am going to just run through points. The old parties lost their last chance to fix things in any sort of normal way when the trolley and his girlfriend told... It's the trolley Bojo.
It's Boris. It's Boris, yeah, and his girlfriend's Carrie.
Yeah, told everyone in 2021 that they were going back to normal politics. SW1 cheered, including Tory MPs who got called en masse in 2024. Sunak doubled down on optimising for pats on the head from permanent secretaries and lawyers after Starmer won. SW1's NPC tweeted to each other how they now had serious grown-ups and we returned to normal government.
Optimising for pats on the head, that's so good.
Yeah, this is what I keep trying to tell people about the Tories. I don't think they're going to get another Thatcher. I think their best chance of that, unironically, was Kemi, and she's horrific. Like,
why would you are so wrong on Kemi?
Yeah, I was very wrong on her. But I just unironically,
Yeah, but
AA
also-
kind of
but
right
also-
again. You need the base black person. But now we're in a
No, you
world.
don't.
They
You
just
don't.
love-
No, you don't.
But we're now in a world where the opposite's true. Like, why is Jenrick doing so well? Frankly, because he's a white guy, and it's really annoying leftists
Yeah.
because they call him racist or
Yeah,
what
and
have you, and he just
we're
doesn't care. Yeah,
And as Cummings says, the growing anger
yeah.
within the native
It's
population.
a total vibe shift. Total vibe
Although,
shift.
do remember, like, Tory rebuttal also on his thing about the Tories never die. You know, you can't really count them out yet.
No, I know, but I think I mean, the weight of change they're going to have, I don't think any of them are ready to swallow the pill. Even if some of them are wanting low, say.
Again,
We'll see.
like you don't like. I don't think anyone doubts Lowe when he's talking, like, on his radical talk, right?
Oh yeah,
You think, like,
believe he believes it.
unlike most of them, where he's
Yeah.
just, you can tell it's all just talk, from Nigel too. Whereas Lowe, yeah, he's going to actually, he's
Wow.
serious about this.
Wow. Well, we'll see. But this was just another cycle of delusion from the SW1 narrative whiplash. The Starmer project blew up on contact with the reality of Whitehall. Both parties are led by dead players. Both old parties are structurally knackered. And the NPCs tweeting hurrah for the grown-ups, Sue Gray was the Jedi we need a few months ago, and now blue sky and disgusting rhetoric from Starmer. I forgot about
Starmer
Sue Gray.
is so universally hated.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And what was his approval when he came in? It was like 45% about, wasn't it?
It was like -10, something like that. His approval was probably
it was,
about 40
it was,
odd. Yeah.
When he first came in, though, it was decent,
Yeah.
especially for a politician. Just so quick, the collapse of that.
I think I don't actually think it was, to be honest, but it was
No,
certainly better than any Tory was for the past 10 years. I'll give
Maybe
you that.
Labour, maybe it was Labour in general, but either
Yeah.
way, they came in. At the start, before they did anything, they were actually pretty good, doing pretty.
Oh,
good
they were
numbers.
like, yeah. My brother wasn't too into Starmer's going to be great. He was, they're better than Tories. But I think we must have got to a point where he doesn't think that anymore. I'll have to ask him next time I see him. So Starmer is speedrunning Sumak's demented combination of massively raising the salience of immigration and boats with a set of policies that everyone who understands the detail knows cannot possibly do what he's promising.
Yeah, what is the difference between Starmer and Sunak?
Skin colour.
Like, Sunak had a personality in comparison.
I'll give you that.
I mean, and like we talk about the Uniparty, kind of in
I
full
miss
display there.
Sunak.
Yeah, well, they're in full display now as well, still, frankly. Why is he doing this? Because, like Sunak, he's caught between political advice that the country is enraged over immigrants and boats and wants action, but B, the adamant priority of the dominant faction in Whitehall, i.e. the force that actually orientate 99% of policy, is maintaining the Human Rights Act and ECHR judicial review system, the cross-party HMT OBR university-endorsed immigration asylum Ponzi scheme. Being a dead player optimised to defend the institutions. At all costs, however pathological, Starmer has aping Sunak synthesised the political advice of McSweeney and the priority of the officials and lawyers actually running the number 10 70WH and generated his own 70 Whitehall, and generated his own version of Sunak's demented combination.
That was a lot. I'm confused. Right.
He's basically saying Sunak and, as you said, what's the difference between Sunak and Starmer? Not much, because
right. So,
they still
so
have the
he's
same
caught between stop the boats and what Whitehall wants.
Yeah.
And he's keeping up, but so he's chosen to maintain the ECHR.
Yeah. So
judges review stuff.
So when you've got really bad weather, they go on about no boats this week, and it's like, yeah, that's because there was a storm in the channel. But then obviously when you get the 1,500 immigrants over in one day, then they go quiet on it and start effectively trying to obfuscate and talk about other issues.
I guess he's saying that there's kind of a two-pronged attack in favour of immigration, like the boats and everything. That there's we can't deport them, it's against the human rights, and also, well, we want them here anyway.
We want them here because GDP line go up, whatever,
And his point is, he's also saying how it's really dangerous, stupid game they're playing, raising this in the public consciousness, and they're not doing it.
Immigration's now become the most important subject again. It's more important than the economy.
I mean, that was his kind of contention with Sunak, among other things, was he kept saying, "Oh, we're going to stop the boats, we're going to do this and that about the immigration," and then just didn't do it.
Yeah,
and like had no kind of intention of ever doing it for some reason.
Yeah,
but
and like this isn't, and this stuff isn't just taxes, right? This is like ethnic awareness you're trying to raise in people.
Which is funny because Labour kind of has a bit of a license to be patriotic in a way that the Tories don't.
Yeah.
So Labour are actually more dangerous to play this game. It's more dangerous for Labour to play this game than it is for the Indian Tory Prime Minister.
The other problem you have is that Labour want all this. The only reason they're going against it is because they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose too many. So that's too many votes to reform.
They don't want their Muslim vote. They don't want to lose their Muslim vote. So they're kind of stuck with that.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is a funny one. The fact that any Commonwealth citizen can come over and instantly vote in elections is mental. I can't believe that's not talked about more, frankly. But
I remember learning that at university and losing my mind.
Yeah. Why did you learn that at uni?
Well, because international students were voting.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell are you doing? And
yeah, they could do it.
I was told that they could vote, and
you can't do it in India. Yeah.
It's funny how none of that's ever extended the other way, is it?
It might. It might be in some countries, but it's not usually.
I highly doubt we can vote in Indian elections. Just turn up.
I don't think we can in India. I don't think we can in Jamaica.
I want Rajesh as president. I don't think so.
I'm going to vote for John Smith as president of India.
Yes.
They have prime ministers, you Philistine.
Whatever.
If you're not in the meetings, you can't accurately estimate the relative levels of dishonesty and self-delusion involved. Obviously, there are officials and lawyers in the meetings who understand reality and are happy to feed ministerial delusion, as they did with Cameron, May, Boris and Sunak. And there are odd, unusual officials who could bluntly tell the truth. PM, so there is no confusion. What you're announcing cannot possibly do with what you claim. I know Sunak was super delusional, not lying, only because I spoke to him in person twice. And of course, many politicians develop weird superposition personalities where they sort of know and sort of lie to themselves, such as an impartial observer can rarely conclude either they're lying or they're deluded.
That's so funny. That's so true. That it's not just politicians; everyone does that.
Yeah, but politicians.
You come across it so much when you try and talk to people about this sort of thing. They do really hold multiple contradictory opinions, and they actually believe them.
Yeah.
It was funny. I was talking to my brother. He's a journalist, and he was saying that some of his friends have sort of got sick of journalism, and if one of them went into work at he went to work in Parliament, I guess, working for an MP, saying that, and I asked him what does his friend do, and he said, he's a script writer for the MP. I was like, a script writer? Yeah, he writes what he's going to say that day. I'm like, do you not? Do you not see what you're saying?
No. It's like, why are so many people so radically anti-establishment? I can't possibly think why.
But you could see that from the point of view of understanding that there exists such a thing as PR.
Yeah.
Like if you're so in that world that you can't see any difference between PR and reality.
Yeah. Well, yeah. This is what Cummings is saying and has said actually for some time. It's how many cope when promoted to jobs far beyond them, and it's very poorly understood among business elites who always overrate the rationality of political players and underrate the prevalence of this superposition personality phenomenon, which means widespread avoidance of the real issue in meeting after meeting to the extent the median business elite has little experience of outside companies heading for bankruptcy. What's he saying that? The median business elite has little experience outside outside companies heading for bankruptcy. What, median business elite just don't know what it's like to go bankrupt?
I guess.
Okay. I'm just trying to work out how that's related to the point. I suspect there's more conscious dishonesty with Starmer than Sunak, but the result is sure to be the same political disaster. And I repeat what I predicted about Sunak when in 2023 the old media regurgitated endless nonsense on how Number 10 plans could stop the boats without dealing with the HRA and judicial review because hand wave. The BBC, ITV and Sky have repeated the process with Starmer's announcement. No explanation of how and why the HRA works, just as when Jenrick correctly said the HRA means that UK SF is droning people instead of arresting them.
Yes, I remember this story. It went onto the news and everyone was like, "Oh, this is so stupid! Like, well, this doesn't happen." Here's XYZ excuse, and I was like, "I swear I've seen Cummings write that before." That yes, they're literally assassinating terrorists in other countries rather than arresting them.
Oh right, and that breaks the HRA
because you can kill them, but you can't like kidnap them.
Which I revealed in this blog in 2021, but everyone ignored. The old media spanned the story as Jenrick accuses Special Force of murder, when the actual story was that the lawyers were instructing that it was lawful, the opposite of murder, to drone but not lawful to arrest. And this was the actual mad story, but the HRA angle had been distorted and then buried. And nota bene, this droning not arrest driven by ECHR and Cabinet Office lawyers and Kafka continues. So what, we're killing terrorists instead of arresting them? Not going to lie, pretty based, but clearly not intended by the HRA.
Yes, but that's the thing, is that it's mandated by the Human Rights Act that you kill them rather than take them alive.
Yeah. And then in this country, it means you can't deport terrorists. Incredible.
No, I guess it's not mandated. It's easier from a red tape point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's and it's like why they get these lawyers going after us special forces guys, because rather than because sometimes they just kill these guys rather than going out of the way to provide medical assistance.
Yeah. Why you shouldn't be having the audio cut out every few seconds. I hope it's not me.
I'm hearing you fine.
Yeah. It might be. It might be YouTube. Yeah. Honestly, it might be worth going back a bit so it buffers properly. The old media did not explain after Rudy Cabana attacked the prison guards that Britain does not keep even convicted terrorist killers about to be released from jail who are believed to be plotting a new attack under surveillance because legal advice that is unlawful under the HRA. So our fortiori. Rudy Cabana can't be kept under proper surveillance.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming it means if he gets out of jail. Mm-hmm. Well, more likely when, let's be real.
Like we said, Prevent aren't interested in that, really. They want people
we
like
know
me.
We know Prevent aren't interested. He went to Prevent 3 times. They couldn't determine he was an Islamist, and so they let him go. Well, or any sort of ideologue, so they let him go because all they're interested in is ideology, not violence, which is mad.
They're interested in radicalization in the abstract.
Yeah, but a specific radicalization, not just. Well, you say abstract, it's more specific than that, surely. If they only care about, are you specifically this type of terrorist, the Islamist type, or are you the white nationalist type, or are you the Antifa type?
All I can go off, not to reignite the discussion from earlier, is the training that I've seen where they did have various groups and used the white one not even white nationalist, just a guy concerned about immigration as the one example that they gave. I mean, they could have given others.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And they did seem to be interested in just the concepts of being radicalized in some way.
Yeah.
Even when that radicalization is what was normal for all history.
Well,
it's
cool.
normal for all history to be a radical Islamist in some places.
Yeah,
that's fine. But... They can do that over there.
Yeah.
Terrorists literally being hunted from cave to cave in Afghanistan by JSOC, US Special Forces, have used satellite phones to procure London barristers to bring legal cases against the MOD for human rights abuses, and won secret payouts of millions while on the run.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, well, it's the Jerry Adams thing as well, isn't it? He's won a payout. Was that a defamation case with the BBC? Because I think they said he was part of Sinn Féin. He's like, I was never part of Sinn Féin. I was... the IRA. He was only a political arm of it or something. It was some technicality and he won. Such grotesque cases are classified by the CEO to stop MPs knowing what EHRC actually does, and close to zero MPs are informed of such lunatic dynamics. Hence my advice to Sunak to declassify the ECHR effects on security, take them out of red strap files and publish them. And he didn't do that, I take it. I went through the boats in great detail in 2020 with both A, the military, and B, the best lawyers inside and outside the government, and the conclusion was absolutely clear. Operationally stopping the boats is simple and could be done in days, but Cabinet Office legal advice endorsed by the external experts is that the PM cannot do this simple thing lawfully because the courts will stop him using the HRA or ECHR. Literally the only thing stopping the boats is the ECHR. It's hilarious. And Kemi Badenoch's current position on it is, we'll have a review of it again.
I mean, it's not though, it's... They could just ignore it.
Well, they can't because there's a faction against
but
it's
just always been a matter of will, and just our politicians just don't have it.
But it's not a matter of will though, is it? Because they end up going to court by these lawyers, and they can't ignore them.
But Parliament is sovereign. They could just tell all of this lot, piss off.
Yeah, the sovereignty there
is nothing they can do.
Parliament is sovereign does not mean it's above the law. What that means is they need to get rid of this law. That's what that means. So they can't just ignore it. They actually need to get rid of it. Anyway, in simple terms, the PM tried to order the Navy to stop the boats in a serious way. The courts would state that the PM's orders are unlawful under the HRA, therefore the Navy cannot execute them, and the Cabinet Secretary would tell the PM that he cannot insist on his orders being obeyed, as in extremis, both the PM and officers could be arrested for contempt. So, political will, you get that's just avoided if you do what Parliament's supposed to and get rid of stupid laws. The core operational and political problem of stop the boats could be solved by simple primary legislation, explicitly whacking the HRA through the broader issue that Strasbourg courts and other international law angles require deeper action. I won't go into detail of this here. I mean, isn't it pretty much what Australia did anyway?
I love reading this blog because I've no idea where that bracket opened.
It was way up there.
That could have easily been another paragraph.
Yeah, I know. It's a bit like reading BAP. The grammar's just horrific, and punctuation.
It's hilarious. I love it.
Yeah, you therefore must choose.
It's real, just flow of consciousness you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much like watching one of my videos, or this is how I feel making one of my videos. It's just a stream of consciousness, and I don't put much thought into the structure. You therefore must choose between A, our priority is the HRA and ECHR over stopping the boats, or B, our priority is stopping the boats and therefore the HRA regime plus some other legal barriers must be changed in primary legislation. Sunak chose A, so has Starmer, but both have spun the media that the choice does not exist and are pretending they've prioritised immigration. And if you rely on the BBC, ITV or Sky, you will not realise that the choices exist because these broadcasters reflect the priority of officials, keep the voters in the dark on the subject. Yes. I told Sunak he was deluding himself and his plans could not work. He said he understood the complex details better than me or anybody else. Oh, God. His argument shifted over time to ever more baroque consortiums, ending in the inevitable humiliating failure. baffling given his intellect unless you grasp the problem of the superposition personality politicians develop to avoid facing reality, and the rarity of people around PMs who tell them bluntly, "You are deluding yourself, PM." Starmer will fail just the same way, whether he's lying or deluded or in a superposition. God, he does have a bit of the Pete North that he waffles on, but at the same time, it's actually interesting stuff, unlike Pete North. Anyway. Ironically, this farce is generating not a return to normal government, but the resurrection of SW1's hate figure, Farage. To champion what voters said in 2016, 2019 and 2024, we hate Westminster and we demand huge changes. Farage hasn't built a campaign machine and professional team on any scale. Reform remains essentially Farage plus iPhone, but he plays consistent main character in the show while the rest of the cast are writing their roles out of the script. McLuhan said that
that's the point. That's you are missing that point there.
What?
How you're always banging on about everything Zaya's done.
Yeah,
Zaya's done nothing.
He's talking about
There is no
machine, not
there is nothing there.
He's talking about campaign, not a party structure.
Yeah.
So I mean, but it's you've always said, oh, they're working with Dominic. He knows more. Like he's clearly not impressed by anything that's gone on at Reform.
I don't care. McLuhan said that if it's on TV, it's a TV show, and we can modify this to if it's on social media, it's a social media show. I mean, that's definitely true. The old parties do not understand social media shows. As I wrote a few months ago, Marshall McLuhan warned that the emergence of new media always generates dynamics that are effectively invisible to almost everybody but a few artists. Hence, I guess we get Mr. Beast. The old political media elites now publicly perform narrative whiplash via new electronic media, but are almost totally unaware of their performance. They memory hole everything, including their own performances.
Does the performance mean like what they're doing or like how well it does?
It basically means the reaction to it. Like they don't realise that, I don't know, all the attacks on Farage say fall very flat. Like you even have load seaters saying whenever Reform attack them, whenever Labour attack Reform, like this is pathetic. Say as an example.
I guess a lot of what you see in old media organizations trying to use new media is they seem to think it's kind of normal and fine to turn comments and stuff off.
Yeah.
Like they don't
something
seem to
like
see
that.
How that looks. I guess is an example.
Yeah, they don't.
Well, but they had the problem when they did have comments is that people were pointing out this is all crap, and that was causing that. That's probably they thought that was causing them more problems.
It's things like,
but they don't see how that looks.
Yeah, it's things like today. They keep, how they've reversed on the winter fuel payments, and they're saying it's because the economy's better, and then everyone in the replies is saying like you've lost 500,000, like they've lost like 500,000 payee. You have 200. It's not that many. It's about 200,000 people not paying income tax anymore because everyone's getting fired. It's the point being made. It's like you have not saved the economy. That's your story, and it's not working. And obviously they just ignore it. Which isn't a good feedback loop, but at the same time, if you're a public figure on X, like you're going to go mad if you actually read everything. So, in a way, I can understand it, but on the other hand, the feedback is important to some degree. And on the politics, I repeat again, a central argument SW1 en masse cannot absorb, but which is crucial to grapple with when considering what comes after the collapse of Labour and Tories. Vote Leave strategy for turning the Tories into essentially a new party with a new electoral coalition was much, much more logical and easier to maintain given the big historical force in play than it is for Labour to cope with the same cultural and electoral dynamics, such as education, polarisation, and the rapidly changing media. Yeah. I mean, we're all on board with Vote Leave, with Bojo in charge. Going back, that was part of the reason Brexit Party pulled a load of candidates out, but then obviously COVID happened and they just ruined it. Unfortunately, Bojo went mad. Starmer had a truly nightmare situation before the issue of what to do about immigration is no longer susceptible to post-1991 SW1 politics as usual. Rich graduate London, crucial for what Labour has become, has radicalised itself like the Democrats, such as it is on principle hostile to border control and treats arguments made by Bill Clinton and Obama as racism. But keeping them happy enrages most of the country outside of London, and Starmer has done a Sunak and enraged everybody. I mean, that's definitely true.
So true.
Rich graduate London now rages at Starmer for his appalling rhetoric, and not London hates him because it knows his rhetoric is just more lies and delusion and nonsense we've seen for the last 25 years, and everybody can see the boats keep coming on video every day proving we're right. He said the trajectory has caused incalculable damage, yet he self-evidently does not even believe his own words, given his trivial proposals. A perfect Sunak recipe for infuriating everyone and destroying your electoral coalition. Starmer's rhetoric, like Sunak's, could only work politically if you deliver, and he's already made it clear delivery is not his priority. The ECHR is. It's just crazy. I just don't get the obsession with everyone right at the top. Like, why do they love the ECHR so much? I can only put it down to they're all globalists and it's kind of the perfect globalist legislation. Which, well, if that's it, we've just got suicidal people at the top.
There's this kind of vibe that it's the sort of Remainer vibe, isn't it? Like it's cool and metropolitan to want to be European or part of Europe. Like
they are bureaucrats, right? And this is their They love the idea of like this whole world governed by sort of like law and just decrees and like all of this stuff rather than like the primordial truth.
But he's talked about the sort of aesthetic revulsion they have towards, I guess, working class Northerners.
Yeah.
Because they don't care about that. They're just.
Well, it's not I don't care. It's an actively that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean the Northerners. They don't care about their sort of utopian vision of a world all like run by the sort of like the UN basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, no, that's not what I'm saying. So I'm saying that the kind of pro ECHR Remainer, I guess, kind of middle-aged to old person now are aesthetically revolted by the
them too,
Anglo Northerner, and like what's as far as possible from a working class, like the Brexit football guy, score some fucking goals guy,
the EU Macron.
What's the opposite of that? It's some like sophisticated German bureaucrat.
Something, kind of that you wouldn't understand this pleb piece of legislation, which the ECHR is.
But it's also not like something aristocratic, which is even they also recoil from that as well.
It's so George Orwell. Like, they're the type of people that would be disgusted to stand up for God Save the King, but would be basically okay with like putting their hand in the poor box, which is effectively what they're doing with the taxes. Because it's not even like working class that are massively hit by that. In fact, they typically actually get the benefits if they go through the system enough. But especially the middle class, middle England, the folks who like cricket and have an ale on the frolic around in meadows, as the old meme goes with the peasantry. They're the old proletariat. A lot of them are effectively. They were the aspiring middle class, working class. Some of them were anyway, and loved Thatcher because she let them buy a house, etc., etc., etc. So they'll hate them as well, and that's why they keep voting vaguely right wing, and that's why obviously Reformer suddenly rejected 300 seats, something like that, and obviously they still hate them. And the ECHR is completely the opposite of them. Hence, Reform have been standing on get rid of it or make it unrecognisable. They'd have lost Osborne, Grieve et al. Goodmore winning. It is much, much harder for Starmer to do the same because most of the MPs and activists have a good chunk of his voters in cities or with Grieve and Jolyon. Is that Dominic Grieve, I take it? I know Jolyon's the good law project guy who beat a fox in a kimono with a baseball bat. If people don't know that story, Google it. The VL strategy was easier to execute. What's the VL strategy?
Vote leave.
Thank you. It was easier to execute given the actual facts of electoral dynamics, but immediately after the 2019 election, SW1 ran its denial of service attack again on itself and convinced itself that, like 2016, our victory was a fluke because of extreme circumstances, Corbyn, etc., and it would be madness for Tories to try and maintain that incoherent electoral coalition because it would pull the party towards extremism, i.e. doing what the voters want.
I mean, I think the maddest reaction was, oh, we've got Brexit? Right, that's because people wanted more Pakistanis and less Polish people.
Yeah.
What?
They probably did want less Polish people. I remember Polish being like talked about all the time when I was like 10.
Yeah, because they were a big.
Quite funny. Yeah.
I mean, we had no idea. We had no idea.
We didn't know. We didn't know how good we had it.
I mean, the funny thing is, like when the inevitable ethnic conflict starts, is that obviously it's going to be against Muslims because they are by far the biggest problem.
Well, I'm not being funny. That's what Southport's kind of an introduction.
Southport was an anti-Muslim riot, and like, I mean, who was the biggest supporters of the Southport rioters? Reform voters, by far. Majority of them supported the Southport riots, anti-Muslim riots. Blame the Muslims.
Don't quite think that's what polling said, but go on.
No, the majority of Reform supporters, voters, supported it. But anyway, either way. But when it does kick off, we're going to have a because like the Polish hate the Muslims too. So there's probably going to be like an alliance with the Poles, with us, against the Muslims and stuff.
It probably won't be too dissimilar to LA. I don't think it'll be anywhere near to that degree, but it'll.
It could be.
I don't think it'll be. I honestly don't.
Muslims
think
are worse than Mexicans. Muslims are worse than Mexicans.
I don't know. I don't know about
potential
that.
To be much worse.
Oh
yeah, come on.
But what I'm meaning is that it's all. You know, like I think it was posted in the Discord again. But you know when like a load of white nationalists aren't even white. Not most of them, obviously, but I think someone said in the Discord that effectively, I know someone in that account who's having a go about the stupid thing said by Dr. David Ball today, and he's actually black. It's like it's not gonna be fully racial anyway.
No,
weirdly, I'm not just talking about how weird it all is.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it. The first problem is always going to be Muslims because they are the worst.
I know, but as I say, I don't think it's necessarily going to be as fully racial as we think it is.
No, it's going to be tricky because
weird.
Like we also have the Indians who hate the Muslims and the Christian Africans who hate the Muslims.
It's going to be the Stone Toss comic on steroids.
No, it's going to be. You see, it's unlike for like us and like the Polish and stuff. We're obviously visually different. Whereas for like the Indians and the Christian Africans, it's trickier for them. Because we can't tell them apart from the Muslim ones.
And then they're going to make very clear that they're not part of that group. It's going to be strange, as I say. I think I've removed myself enough from the situation where I can mostly be a spectator.
But the idea that, but clearly, because of the amount of immigration we've had, the coming civil war is going to be, it's not going to be just us. We're going to have allies.
I have doubts if it's going to be on the size of Civil War 2, to be fair, but we'll see.
The talk of civil war, it doesn't mean like it's tricky to know what a civil war would look like these days because it's not going to be.
It will be very localized to certain cities, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not going to be armies lined up in fields shooting at each other like previously.
Yeah,
but the term I think still applies.
It's a kind of Lebanon situation.
Yeah. Lebanon is a perfect example. You let Muslims in to this previously Christian country, and now look at it as caliphate. Hopefully, we win though instead.
They then cheered Boris, Truss, and Sunak as they machine gunned the entire coalition with the biggest wave of uncontrolled immigration ever. Taxes rise, vandalism on a vast scale, and declared, "See, the 2019 coalition could never have lasted." Why? Because the last thing any part of SW1 outside of some of the deep state wanted to see was the Tories transformed into a different party that was super tough on crime and immigration. Super focused on productivity and science tech startup investment. Super disruptive of Whitehall's core institutions and supported by the National Coalition, uniting parts of the working classes and middle classes. Super popular outside SW1, but a nightmare for SW1. We were right there, man. Like, this was Cummings' plan.
We were this close. Like, one meme.
Yeah.
It's,
we were
it's
this
funny
close to greatness.
Yeah, exactly. Like taking, like going into any even like small, medium, whatever business and deciding you're going to change it transformationally is very difficult. Imagine choosing the UK government as the organisation you're going to try and transform. That is outrageous, isn't it? It's just an outrageous idea.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, anything's possible, as Enoch Powell says. Anything the voters want is possible. So both parties, cheered by NPCs, have doubled down on the trajectory that is deeply unpopular to almost every constituency. The mainstream has alienated everybody except Whitehall and some other London University characters, despite desperate to prop up the rotten edifice. They've revived their boogeyman, Farage. Sunak and Starmer are the last of the old party leaders who have clung to the dead scripts of the hollow SW1 simulacrum. Hollow leaders optimising for pats on the head from permanent secretaries and government lawyers, even when it leads to their own implosion.
Well, that's the point. Like, who's next after Starmer? Just
in terms of continuity.
If not Farage, who within Labour and Tories is next?
Angela Rayner.
You say, yeah, she or some people talk Andy Burnham.
Andy Burnham would be Starmer again, because frankly, he was good in Manchester because he had some freedom, but he won't have freedom in SW1.
Yeah, but like, who's like if Starmer does go early?
I mean,
these are probably the two most likely to take over at the moment.
It's either Wes Streeting's another one. All of them are terrible.
Yeah.
All of them are absolutely god awful. I mean, Burnham's probably their best bet.
Yeah, Burnham will be the least offensive, but he'd still be terrible.
Best bet, I mean, the best in terms of quality of person.
But Burnham would be a repeat of Starmer, where everyone's like, "Oh yeah, he'll do really great," and then he'll just poo the bed instantly.
Oh, I don't think Starmer had many people thinking he was going to do great. It was just
you did from the. I'm talking about the.
Sick of the
I'm talking specifically about the elite class. They were the only people that thought that, and it'd be the same.
They probably still think that. I bet a bunch of them probably still think that.
Well,
it's just these stupid peasants. Why are they getting uppity?
Well, no, a lot of them have effectively the Stuart Lee outlook, which is I voted Labour to at least have some like progressive. I can say I voted Labour for the progressivism, and I can't even say that now.
Yeah,
there's nothing. They don't they're hated pretty much universally. The only reason they're not hated completely universally is because public sector unions love them. That's it. Burnham buggered up the buses, did he? I have family in Manchester, and I'm hearing pretty much the opposite. So I don't know about that.
Just as an FYI, we've got 40 people listening. That's pretty good.
Oh, it's there you go. It's because of Dominic Cummings. You better all subscribe. I know you don't all subscribe, but you better. Oh, we actually got a subscriber, neat. You can also super chat if you want. Money goes to me. The new government, it's so people know. While the new government imploded, the Tory party could not benefit. It has disintegrated in all areas. Its membership has either defected to reform or retreated in disgust from politics. Its donors have gone on strike. Its local networks have collapsed. It cannot generate good ideas. It cannot campaign, and communicate. Its communication is so self-sabotaging. They disintegrated faster than when they try harder. And networks on which it depended for people and ideas have either themselves died or defected. Yeah, I don't think he likes the Tories, does he?
Read that Tory rebuttal.
I mean,
read that and weep.
I mean, people keep asking, like, why am I so harsh on Jenrick? It's because, effectively, he's still part of this dead amalgamation, just mangled corpse of a party. The only thing keeping it up is, effectively, 70-odd-year-olds with dementia. You've forgotten that the Tory party are bad now. It's, I don't trust a politician is looking more than 2 weeks ahead if they're still part of the Tory party, frankly. Anyway, where were we? On networks on which dependent people have died. In recent elections, councillors got Thanos, and if Kemi is still there in a year, most of what's left in England, Wales, and Scotland will get Thanos. Now the party is just 100 English MPs and a few thousand councillors rattling around in a hollow historical institution. Next May, it won't be even that. Yeah, pretty much. Now the question remains: what, if anything, does Farage build, and who does he recruit as over the next few months? Does he want to find people to be chancellor, etc., who are better than the old parties? Can he exploit the surging energy? For new politics among the young, can he hoist a sail and let that force blow him along to great victory, captured by others? I mean, either way, it's not that bad either way, to be honest. Do the Tories bin Kemi this year and try and save themselves, or leave her and watch the rest of the party get Thanos next May? He really likes that term. And if a new team takes over from this year, can they even reverse the slide, or has the party already crossed the inevitable event horizon into oblivion? My money's more on the former there. The latter, sorry. I think it's too late. What do Labour MPs do when they realise their PM has done a Sunak and machine gun both London Remain and non-London Leave? They double down. Of course they double down. Like, we've seen this pattern so much. Oh, your rhetoric went right-wing and you did left-wing things. The issue was clearly that you had right-wing rhetoric. Or rhetoric, sorry. How do parts of Whitehall prepare to sabotage Farage, copying their friends in Europe who routinely sabotage political threats to the old system? How do other parts of Whitehall, particularly in security and intelligence, respond to the disintegration? How do voters respond to the meltdown of the old system and creeping chaos? What new crises accelerate collapse in, I said in 2021, prepare for the grid to collapse and infrastructure ever relies on to stop working. These trends will continue. The immigration Ponzi is blowing up. The Ponzi scheme of modern financial system could blow any time. It's a lot of, it's a bit of a house of cards, Britain, at the moment, isn't it?
And that's like his first point. Some of them are starting to realise that, and it's scaring them.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of musical chairs. Like, they don't really want to be left at the top when something goes catastrophically wrong.
I'm kind of interested because if it does all collapse, I'm kind of interested to see what's Starmer going to do, because he's not going to. Well, I mean, let's not go into that. God, not on stream.
Well,
but he doesn't have his but his pension. Like, the main reason he's doing anything is because he has a pension that's worth like $1 million a year. Whole thing collapses. Like, that just goes. Worst case scenario in all of these.
This lot, they'll just piss off somewhere else.
I don't know how they'd. Oh, they must have assets actually. Yeah, maybe they'll be all right.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like, I mean, like, especially with Rishi, like we were saying all along, all of this lot, they'll just piss off somewhere else. Same with the American elites. Like, we talk about them just
the American
trying to
elites
just extract from the country.
Well,
they're just trying to extract. That's the same as us.
They're already going to Dubai, I suppose.
They'll just piss off somewhere else.
How fast do violence and no-go areas spread? Do we start seeing networks emerge combining explicit anti-Islam, explicit violence and sabotage, and competent organisations as the deep state fears?
Most likely. Very likely. You're dead wrong on this, man.
I don't see smart enough people in these circles.
But that was his point, though. Someone will rise. And then
I saw even this week, though, there's a group of people who've decided they're going to start cleaning graffiti off tube trains.
Yeah.
In London.
That was Tom Harwood of all people.
Tom Harwood was involved, but I think there's a wider.
Yeah.
Oh, something for growth. There's an organisation around it. And
I know there's a Transport for London watch.
They, like, obviously that's quite sort of chill as a thing to do. Like, I don't think there's any law against it or anything, but it is, I guess, a bit like the Blade Runners stuff. Like, it's a kind of example of people taking it into their own hands when the state has failed. And the more of those examples that you see, I can see how that could cascade, like snowball.
I have seen before in, I think it was America, similar sort of groups, like people just trying to clean up something, and then they get met with hostility by the people living there. because they want it's theirs, and they don't want their sort of turf being intruded upon by who they view as outsiders.
Yeah.
So, but like you say, they're not on smart stuff, but this was like his point. Like some leader will arise who can actually mobilize things.
If the state, I mean, even if they're successful in cleaning up
Yeah.
a street or a tube train or whatever, like they're still showing this state failure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which they don't like.
Especially when they plaster it all over social media, if they have some sort of campaign going, they don't have to be that competent to do that.
Yeah.
And if somebody who is competent sees that and it gives them an idea, then great.
Like the I'm sure we'll see it extend to like criminals, people who like try to do citizens arrests sort of things, neighborhood watch groups.
Yeah, I saw that that's happening more and more frequently on the tube with people not paying for the fares.
Yeah.
People just getting body checked and like pushed back through the barrier, and like I saw one today of a guy, trying to shoplift and another guy literally walking past him and grabbing his basket off him and walking back into the shop with it.
Okay, and again, you can just see it all slowly ratcheting up as people realize that the state can't do anything. Which, again, like Cummings said. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, people in London, I don't, I like the fact that there are people still trying to be civil in the London Underground, cleaning graffiti. It was so funny. Like, the SW1 classes he keeps saying are just, they're so out of it. Because I think Tom Harwood, after doing that, said Transport for London have a budget of like £500,000 to clean graffiti. Like, what are they doing? And David Aranovich, ex-communist who writes for the Times, is like, let me finish the point first. He's like, what do you mean? Do you not want them to clean it? And it's like, it's obvious the point is they have £500,000 and they're not doing a good enough job. What do you mean? Like, they're idiots. Go on.
£500,000 does actually seem really low for that.
Yeah.
They're like really low. Yeah.
A specific budget to like clean graffiti.
But for just £500,000, that's many hours of man work there, and with equipment. Like that sort of work isn't cheap. Just like if you try and like buy someone to pressure wash it yourself, that does seem really low actually.
And another point is that security are supposed to be stopping people doing the graffiti.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that. It's all part of a network that just is failing.
That's a couple of people. It's £500,000 a year. There's like a few people and some equipment. That's nothing for the size of the tube.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think there will be another SW1 spasm, and Kemi will get the heave ho this year. After that, the social media show changes to either A, the Tories are sunk and closing down and sorting into Labour Lib Dem or Reform, or B, oh my goodness, there's a last gasp at revival. How will Starmer and Farage, neither of which have political machines worth their name, cope? Yeah. The zombie corpse, I suppose it can be reanimated. I don't see them radically changing enough for people to take them seriously. I think the trust is completely gone. Completely gone.
Yeah. They've got to be really radical.
Yeah.
Like in that, if their next sort of move after Kemi, like, I don't know if it's Genric or whoever, but they need to go like really hard. Like, so that anyone sort of looking, thinking, right, even if they just do a quarter of this, that would actually be quite good.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what Trump did.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people were like, do you remember, was it day one, those executive orders that he was pushing through?
Yeah.
And people were like, oh my God, I didn't think we were going to get one of these, let alone 40.
Yeah. It's an interesting.
Oh, he's gone on to some.
Yeah, he goes on a while here. Right. So that's where it ends. Right. Okay. Well, he goes on to say, he talks about these books. So Peter Turchin, End Times, Elites, Counter-Elites, and the Path of Political Disintegration. How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them by Barbara F. Walter, and The Collapse of Complex Societies by Joseph A. Tainter. So these explore fundamental questions of history and politics. What are the patterns in history versus just one damn thing after another? What patterns can we see in repeated episodes of disintegration and regime change? After all, history is a circle in some ways. How ruling elites maintain power? Why does the grip on power sometimes collapse? What is the relationship between material forces, ideas, institutions, technologies, alliances, and individual choices? When looking at regime change, what can we figure out about the balance between Tolstoy's historical forces and individual decisions? Tolstoy's historical forces? What does he mean by that? I've not read Tolstoy.
Must be something Tolstoy wrote about.
Yeah.
He likes his Russian and German authors.
Right. Why do some revolts take off while others fizzle out? How reliable and useful are predictions? How much is inherently unknowable because crises are by definition chaotic and influenced by odd random people acting secretly in assassinations, etc.? What strategies are there to avoid the bloodshed and horror that always accompany collapse? How to think about counterfactuals like his blog on Bismarck?
I mean, the only way to you can't really avoid bloodshed after collapse. You just got to hope you're in a strong local community. Really, that's the best thing for that. Yeah.
The restoration of Charles II. That was a bit of a collapse.
Not really.
Bloodless.
Not really.
You don't think
No.
so?
No,
it was the same.
There wasn't a collapse. It was just, we'd rather have you in charge.
I'd say that's a collapse of the parliamentary supremacy system. Well, was it? I guess they carry on.
It was the cementing. It was the cementing of the parliamentary supremacy system.
Yeah, you're right.
French Revolution is a collapse.
Oh yeah.
The English Civil War is a collapse.
I am not in any doubt that collapse usually leads to bloodshed, but there are probably relatively bloodless ones.
Not really, not a collapse. There's been changing in governments and stuff, but actual collapse, no, that's always going to be bloody.
Yeah, a collapse. I mean, I guess you could have a bloodless coup, but that's not a collapse.
No, the system's still running. That's fine.
Well, that's still a regime change as well.
Yeah, a regime change is not necessarily.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's bloodless regime change, not bloodless collapse.
Yeah.
That's where it's landed.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I think just you want to be in a strong local community. Really, that's your best bet.
In my 2013 essay and 2014 blogs, I explored the history and possible application to government of thinking about complex systems with non-linear interdependencies and emergent properties. Also see my blog on system management in ICMBs and Apollo and the need for a sort of systems politics. At the end of the paper,
I remember reading that in 2015.
Yeah. Take it as intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Yes.
The end of this.
Genuinely reading his blog on the Apollo program was something that made me start sort of questioning full-on libertarianism.
Why?
What was his opinion on it?
Well, it's the state can do stuff if it manages well.
Right. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Apollo project is a funny one, coming in, but under time and under budget for a government-run project.
Well, competition.
Yeah, exactly.
They're in competition with the Russians.
Well, true.
It's political.
Political competition. Yeah, exactly. That's when government works. That's why armies are usually so good.
It's not a it's not a for-profit.
Yeah,
that's not a profit motive.
That's why
they did. Although I heard they did actually make a lot of money from the discoveries and inventions from the Apollo project.
I'm sure
it actually turned out to be profitable for them as well.
No one was going to invest in it though, from a private point of view. But that's
So the end of the paper summarises how Whitehall's management is the opposite of what we know works best. Yep. The subject of the complex systems emerges from the intersection of biology, economics, the birth of computer science post-Gödel-Turing, and other subjects after 1945. I hate that he's bringing intersectionality into this. What a wokey. You can see it in Weiner's cybernetics and some of von Neumann's post-war writing on computers, the brain, and self-replicating automata. Out of this emerged things like age-based models. The Nobel winner Murray Gell-Mann, namer of the quark, wrote a fascinating book about what he called complex adaptive systems. I highly recommend The Quark and the Jaguar. He also helped set up the Santa Fe Institute to develop interdisciplinary ideas about complex systems. The biologist E.O. Wilson described in Consilience, the Ionian enchantment. The belief that the unity of nature, the search for the principles that explain it, the unification of knowledge as the foundation for modern science. Watson argues that Ionian attachment provides an Ardennes thread of Ariadne's thread of explanation from biochemistry to genetics to quantitative modelling of the brain to culture. Kind of read all that, and a lot of it's gone in.
I love a good self-replicating automaton.
Automata. I take it automatas, plural. I just got that. Automata. Yeah, I just got that. At the same time as the subjects emerged in the 40s, Asimov gave the most famous fictional treatment in the Foundation series, in which mathematicians developed psychohistory to predict, then intervene in, the rise and fall of regimes. These ideas have been fascinating to generations, and now there are ways to build tools that, in limited ways, touch on Asimov's ideas.
I love the Foundation trilogy. I recommend everybody read it. It's so good.
I do have Foundation. I do need to read it. Isn't it? It's an anthropology, isn't it?
No, it's one of. So Asimov mainly did write short stories, but these are novels. The Foundation series.
So is it just
fun fact? It's the first appearance in sci-fi of a planet-sized city.
He made that Will Smith film, didn't he?
iRobot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's based. Well,
he didn't make it, but he wrote the book.
I always try to bait Asimov fans with that because I know they hate the Will Smith film.
I mean, I don't mind it. It's a good watch, but it's not very accurate to the story.
I've never read Asimov, and I really need to.
You should. It's great.
12 years after writing that essay, I believe in more strongly that a sort of systems politics is necessary, a mix of new people, ideas, institutions, and training, including ideas from the heyday of systems management developed in projects like the Apollo. Yeah, sounds good. Applying some of these ideas was central to our success in 16 and 19, and to how we started changing how Number 10 worked in 2020, but I must admit that I have totally failed to persuade insiders for the need of systems thinking. Even worse, I think that if I polled insiders, it would reveal that they've persuaded themselves that, to the extremely limited extent to which insiders have any idea of what systems thinking means, I oppose it. Okay? Even though I published a few 100,000 words on the subject. Well, probably. I increasingly feel as if I somehow contributed to making systems politics a sort of anti-meme among insiders, an idea with self-censoring properties, an idea which in its intrinsic nature discourages or prevents people from spreading it. This interesting sci-fi story was alerted by Anthropic's Jack Clark. I'm thinking about how to reverse this anti-meme property among insiders. It won't come from me writing or talking more, since if I helped anti-meme it, I cannot directly reverse it. Something else is needed. Is he basically saying because he tried to talk about it, no one wants to talk about it?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Rip. I mean, some people have to realise that they are an anti-meme, and actually opposing things that they want can turn that thing into a good meme. But I don't think anyone really has the anti-ego for that.
Analogy. Yeah, it's a good analogy, and you're right, it is an ego thing.
Yeah.
Just say that with that's the joke with Trump a lot, wasn't it? Trump comes out against something everyone, well, in that case.
Yeah, we want it. Yeah, exactly.
In that case, we want Trump supports the LA rioters. In that case, we want to deport all Mexicans. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. I don't think anyone would have the anti-ego to kind of do that unless they were a phenomenal actor and incredibly self-aware. But I don't think that's humanly possible.
I think Trump genuinely gave that a good shot. He would often use that as a way to distract people by making them talk about a certain thing.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
And he could tell. It was so funny seeing the reactions. It was just utter sort of confusion and despair. Like, oh God, what do we do now? We've got to oppose this, don't we? But we like it. Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, we are nearly done here. So, where am I? Turchin, from this intellectual tradition of complex systems, he is trying to identify patterns in the cycle of integration and disintegration we see in regimes across time and space. And B, I want to collect statements, speeches, memos, etc., reflecting elite blindness before the revolt or revolution comes, before 1789, 1848, 1914, 1917, 1933, and 1989-91, etc., and examples of the rare person who did see it coming but was ignored. God, that's going to be difficult, isn't it? Frustratingly, in the excellent biography of Metternich I blogged on last year, the author writes that one can trace Metternich's thoughts almost day by day in the early 1848 as revolution spread across Europe up to his own balcony, but he then skips over them and gives a short summary. I'd love to see day-by-day accounts of how Europe's statesmen, with the best developed intelligence network for political news, who had seen historical forces building for years, tracked the spread of revolution up to the moment the crowds outside forced him to flee in disguise. I'm going to build a dashboard to track data relevant to the spread of chaos and violence in the UK. If you know of relevant data sources, please link them, etc., etc.
I'd love to see a talk with Dominic Cummings and David Betts, because this is what David Betts
Did they not?
has been
I
doing.
swear I saw that on YouTube. Hang on. I saw somebody talking about both of them. Maybe.
It might have been just they sort of seem to be with this and that. They're sort of both on the sort of
Yeah.
the same thing.
Bets.
There you go.
No, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think I know what you mean. Like I think some people are talking about, oh, these two are both talking about the same thing
Well, like
here.
a Steve Connor Tomlinson and some guy called the Downton Report. No, he's just talking about them.
Yeah.
Fine. Okay, sorry, ignore me.
It's all right. I mean, we're done with the blog. I don't have too much to disagree on there, as usual. It's hard to always work out what his specific answers are, because he just starts talking about systems thinking. I'm sure he explains it. I'm sure he describes what that actually is in a lot more blogs, but I'm not always the wiser on it. It seems to just be...
I mean, basically, it seems to just be good management powered by modern systems.
Yeah.
Modern computer systems. That's
still quite vague, but if he has examples like the Apollo system, which is really useful. But how's that not like... just gone?
Gone.
Okay, I'll go. I wonder how that is different, say, to how corporations would work, because we always
very different. But corporations don't really work very well on this sort of thing. Have you heard of? It's a kind of crude one. Have you heard of Six Sigma?
No.
It's a kind of industrial data gathering and analysis thing,
right?
Which helps you improve your processes.
Control, define, measure, analyze, improve. Right. That's 5, but okay.
No, it's nothing to do with that.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So there are frameworks for systems improvements and process improvements and management of people that exist in the business world. Yeah,
what he seems to want, which is pretty obvious when you think about it, obviously he thinks systems thinking is the way to effectively have self-correcting incentives, whereas obviously at the moment we have the opposite. We have self-destructive incentives. But I mean, if there is total collapse, what the hell does happen? I guess you just have the army involved. Oh my god, that makes Starship Troopers world. We might be all right.
I think he's kind of thinking. It's not like an ideology. It's a higher level than ideology. It's like what works at a sort of autistically pragmatic level.
Is Dominic Cummings in favour of brain chips? He seems like he would be.
I would not be shocked.
Yeah, it seems like he would.
Yeah, I need to read more on this.
Yeah,
maybe that's a future one. A future podcast is what the hell is systems thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a good one because I've read it a lot in Cummings' blogs. I mean, he's one of these people that's really good at telling you what the problem is, but just saying systems thinking is what we need, it's a bit vague. I'm glad he at least has examples like the Apollo, but yeah.
But like one of the problems with like systems thinking is that you're dealing with people, not machines.
Well, we can just I guess.
Yeah, we can just go, I don't care. No matter how rational something is, people can just go, I don't care.
Well, I suppose that's why he wants, as I said, AI and other machine learning involved, which is pretty much, that's pretty much what the fourth industrial revolution is going to be. So again, this is how private companies basically work anyway. Well, certainly ideally, it doesn't quite work at the moment because the incentives are so whack.
I'm telling you, they definitely don't.
Well, hang on. They don't work. Well, that's why I said ideally, because at the moment the incentives for them, they're all whack and they're all taxed into not being able to grow. So it's
yeah, I mean, the idea of they're making rational decisions is
yeah.
And
it's more than that, especially like big companies. It's about growth, not profit.
I mean, isn't that the same thing?
No. Because like, look at so many of these big companies lose money every year. Like YouTube only sort of just recently became profitable, right? For Google, they can go on for years and years just losing money, and no one seems to see a problem with that.
Well, it
hoping
depends
that one
on
day it turns around.
Yeah, well, it depends.
It's just like it just.
That depends on the business model. That's not necessarily.
That's a bad business model.
Is it? Like, that's pretty much how the That is pretty much how the explorers would have been working when they went across the Atlantic. Like when you made Jamestown, that was a massive risk, and that didn't start making a profit for like 50 years.
YouTube is also a subsidiary of is it Google?
Yeah, Alphabet. Yeah.
Alphabet, and they make an overall profit, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious that YouTube was mainly taken over to curate. But as you say, it is kind of making a profit now, and I imagine that's because they've streamlined.
But you get whole companies that Twitter wasn't making any money.
No, a load of startups don't make money for years.
Yeah. And it just seems bad to me.
Well,
like everything I've done, like all the work I've done myself, I've never been in a period of, we're just going to lose £100 million this year. I've had to, everything I've done for myself, I've had to be profitable every year from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like you should be able to figure that out.
That does make sense, but at the same time, it's you. I don't think Facebook was profitable. I mean, that's why you were so edgy about the whole thing. I don't think Facebook made a profit till like 20 years in or something. And the reason for that is, look at the trajectory.
It's just
we'll keep going.
But it just seems like
it
just doesn't seem right. You should be able to figure out the most basic principle of a business being profitable from like the beginning. And this is like because we used to be run by like business used to have owners. Now they've got boards of directors.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem.
At loss until the money runs out. But if you've got a lot of money to start with, then you can run for years without a profit.
Yeah,
I don't know. That seems like a pretty daft way of analysing businesses, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny, Joz, but didn't you write an article once basically saying a country is a company or a corporation, a corporate body?
I think I was probably getting at something that I need to think about more.
Yeah, I just remember the Mallard not being very happy with that because they ended up basically saying, political institutions are nothing like corporations. It's like 2 days after.
They were moaning that I didn't include the Pope in my description, which I was a bit confused about at the time.
I guess he was above kings.
But that's not really what I was saying, is it?
No, I know.
But
I'm with you. You did a good article.
It was kind of surface level, though. Like, I feel like there's something there that somebody else has explained a lot better than me.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that was a good blog to go through, and obviously it was popular with people. We had 30 odd watchers there. You better all subscribe. We lost a subscriber somehow. What is going on? You better all subscribe though, like and all that as well. And obviously, thank you, Sarah, for the super chat. Right, yeah. With that's that'll be it for the stream. So Subnautica on my channel on Thursday, and then Laughing at the Guardian on Friday. The guests are William the Bonkerer and Jack. Tharium, if you cannot be bothered with the level of with that level,
it'll be an easy stream for me. I can just sit there.
Well, you can shut up. Yeah, true. Yeah, so Tharium's there as well, but you probably won't hear him much because
Jack's always a good guy. So
well, I can't imagine we'll get through too many articles, frankly. Joz, I don't know if you watch Willie and the Bonk. You surely know Willie and the Bonker from Twitter.
I know of him.
He was on a Laughing at the Guardian, and it took me over an hour to end the stream because he went on a massive tangent about World War One. I just didn't shut up. It was so bad I even had John in my DMs saying, "You've made your point. Autism exists. Let me go to sleep."
That's so funny.
I say go watch it, but you have to be a member, and you are not paying me membership. I know that for a fact. Anyway, Sarah says for £2, it's shocking how many tech comps aren't profitable. Loads aren't. Loads of them are relying on effectively future growth. Like loads of them are based on debt. And I'm with you, Tharium. It doesn't make sense for so many of them to be able to do that, but it can be successful. It's just it should be more of a risk than it is.
Yeah, I'd just like to see them. I don't know. I feel like profit should be more important to all these companies.
Yeah.
Actually, okay, we've got to get profitable as quickly as possible.
This is the same logic as the Norwegian government's tax policy, which is retarded.
What, isn't that just...
What's that?
Well, it's just taxed them at 90%.
They tax businesses based on their current worth immediately. So even if they're not making any profit.
Oof.
So if you start a business with an investment of €1 million or kroner or whatever, they will tax you on that £1 million kroner year on year afterwards, not on the amount of profit that you make, like in other countries.
It is funny whenever I listen to Peter McCormack and he's like, everyone says Scandinavia is great, but whenever I talk to Norwegians, they all hate it. It's quite funny.
It's tricky. They don't. It's not good for setting up businesses.
No, it's
but
terrible.
for living there, it seems quite good. They like that.
Well, ironically, we're probably one of the countries where it's easiest red tape wise to actually set up a business.
Yeah, and it's still horrific.
Sargon and Arch are setting up their sort of wargaming sort of setting, and so it's like deciding where they would base it. And Arch was just like, no way is it going to be Norway.